Well, welcome everybody, and aloha kakahiaka, which is the Hawaiian word for good morning. It's 10 o'clock. It's 9:55 here right now in Hawaii time. And if you're watching this pre-recorded, in other words, if this is not 9:55 a.m. Hawaii time on January 8th, 2021, you could fast forward about 5 minutes where the real show starts. This is the warm-up period that we're using just to kind of make sure everything's working, make sure the mics are working, do our testing. The real show is going to start in a few minutes, but I'd love to have you all a part of it and be here with us. And actually, I'm really glad that you're here with us. And I am here with my good friends. We've got Scott Startsman, who's on Oahu that's not a fake background behind him, by the way. He's really living there. And we have Dylan Nonaka, who's living on the Big Island, is with us. And we have Heidi Dollinger, who is with us on Maui. So we have a great statewide representation. And God bless you, Jim, the first guy on the show, as always. Bless you, Jim, and great to see you. And hello there, Ian. And Raul's with us. And Teresa is here. Perfect. Yeah, great, Teresa. Great to see you all here. Hey, listen, let's go around the show over here and see what everyone's doing. Typically, what we do is we warm up with the Aloha shirt review. So, Scott, what's the Aloha shirt today?
Actually, Rin Spooner as usual. I'm always consistent with the Rin Spooners. In fact, I think I own one other Aloha shirt that's not a Rin Spooner. But this is this is a Hermosa Saloon 25 years replica or memorabilia. We my family's bar and restaurant in Hermosa Beach, California. We sold it a couple of years ago, but this was kind of the work uniform. I'll never forget the only time I actually had been in there. I'd stopped over from Miami. I had gone to the Orange Bowl in Miami, stopped over, went in there at 10 at night for one drink, and everyone kind of figured out, I was related to the owners and whatnot, and I didn't make it out of there till like 2, 3 in the morning and ended up having to get on a flight at 6 a.m. It wasn't pretty. So I wear this shirt with a little bit of it brings back some bad memories a little
bit. Well, they were good until they became bad. Yeah. Hey, Dylan, what's going on there over there, buddy? What's the shirt of the day and what's going on?
I'm consistent with the Sig Zanes, which is the local Big Island designer. And actually, nowadays, he's not little and local anymore. If you look like on the all of the Hawaiian Airlines uniforms are Sig Zane designs, and the airplanes have them on there too. So I think Hawaiian Electric also uses his designs as part of their logo and stuff. So he's pretty big time now in the state, but so still trying to support the local Big Island designers.
So Sig Zane is out of the Big Island.
Hilo, yeah, they started. Hilo. They started in Hilo. Yep.
Wow.
It's the only. I think they may have a retail store in Ala Moana now, but they still have their little tiny retail store in downtown Hilo where they started.
Awesome. Hey, Dylan, I'm not sure. Check your settings. I mean, you're coming across fine. There's a little bit of an echo, and I don't know if your primary mic is the one that's being used or if it's the mic that's on the laptop. I'm not sure. You may want to just kind of quick check on that. You sound fine. Just want to make sure it's not you're using the right mic. Heidi and I have our coffee. We have our coffee connoisseur in common, or I call myself a coffee snob. Heidi's a coffee aficionado. Heidi, what is the coffee of the day today that you are drinking? And make sure you unmute yourself before you start.
There you go. The coffee I'm drinking today, it's a Maui coffee. It's one of my favorites, the red katuai. They call it the Cabernet of coffee. So it's really great. It's one of my go-tos. And I'm wearing my puka shell earrings. One of my friends during COVID started making this great jewelry from shells on the beach. So anyway, feel very lucky, grateful to be here. Aloha.
Aloha, isn't that the truth? So now puka shell. So we should kind of explain that a little bit to everybody. What is a puka shell? I know we can't do a zoom in right now on Heidi's ear, but what is the puka shell? What does that mean? What does that represent? I see like that little white thing, that little white round thing. Is that the puka shell?
Yeah.
So what is a puka shell?
Yeah. So she found these shells on the beach, and I don't really have much of a story, but maybe somebody else does.
Well, I just know that puka is the Hawaiian word for whole. So a puka shell is a shell with a hole in it, and it looks like those shells have holes in it. So they have natural holes, and they were the rage. My wife tells me when she was young, and they used to walk up and down on the beach, and the big thing was to collect puka shells, and they would make puka shell necklaces and sell them at the international marketplace in Waikiki. I don't know if anybody else wants to add into that. It's 10:01. Dylan, you want to do a quick mic check just to make sure if I don't know if it's the same mic, or are we good?
How's that? Any better?
Yeah, that is better. That is
okay,
better.
Right on.
There's less echo. Terrific. All right, great. Okay, folks, it is that time. It is showtime to begin. I'm glad that you're all here with us today on this Aloha Friday morning. And today is January 8th, 2021. Happy New Year, everybody. And I have a little bit of I wanted to start, before the show started, and this just came up a few minutes before the show started. I wanted to kind of start and only this time with a personal message. And that's this. And folks, I don't want to talk about anything that's been going on in the past week. And what I want to talk about is for this show, for right now, for this moment, we are going to focus on the now. I don't know. I do know, but I don't care about what's going on in the world around us. I don't care. This is our little sanctuary right now that we're all going to have. We're going to have a fun time we have Hawaii to talk about, the most beautiful, sacred place on earth. This attitude of gratitude is one of the big things that we all here practice in Hawaii, because we are so happy to be here. We're so glad to be living on this, what we consider is the greatest place on earth. And so my last bullet point here says, savor the moment. And what I mean by savor the moment is we're not going to worry about what happened yesterday. I'm not going to think about what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm just going to think about what's happening right now. And I'm going to have a good time with my friends, talking about the place that we love, and a good time with you. So I want you all to savor this moment with us and have a great time. And let's just have a good time together for now. Can't promise you what's going to happen afterwards, and I don't care. I just care about the right now. And so that's it. I just wanted to share that with all of you, and that's basically it. So let's move on. Okay, let's get into the show here. So let's start with our normal thing that we begin with, and we got a news update here. Just want to give you a quick thing on the news. So what's going on? Well, the COVID, if you look at this graph, I don't know if it's easy to see or not, but if you look at the graph, there is a spike, and I think it's expected. The spikes are the result of the holidays. Christmas, New Year holidays, people got together. The thing is spiking. I think it's spiking across the country, if not the world, and it is what it is. I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to worry about it. Kauai have announced they've made some changes. So planning is key. It's super important that you do the right kind of planning if you're going to take a trip to Hawaii. And make your travel plans carefully. Kauai is allowing, I just read off of the press release here, travelers flying to Kauai from Oahu, Maui County, or the Big Island of Hawaii, who have been in the state of Hawaii for more than 72 hours before departing for Kauai can avoid quarantine by taking the following steps. Travelers from out of state now have the option of a shortened 3-day quarantine by participating in the resort bubble post-travel program. So what they're saying is that if you follow you have to follow the Safe Travels program. If you've been in the state for at least 72 hours, if you're on the Safe Travel program, which we've talked about in previous shows, you can go to Kauai and avoid quarantine. If you fly directly into Kauai, you can have a shortened 3-day quarantine by participating in the resort bubble post-test program, which means essentially you go to a resort, an authorized resort, a bubble resort, you go through testing, and you have a limited 3-day quarantine. So Kauai is changing things around. So if you're going to go to Kauai, you want to kind of plan that appropriately. Another piece of the news I think we're going to start adding is, because it's always happening now, we have a reactivated a live erupting volcano. So the Kilauea volcano, I'll read something and I'll pass it over to Dylan, because I know he's our Big Island resident and he may have something to add to this. The U.S. Geological Survey says the eruption from the west vent in Halema'u crater continues at Kilauea summit. Spatter being ejected from the vent has built another spatter cone, while lava entering the lava lake is still forming a dome mountain. The lava lake continues slowly to rise. As of January 6th, the lava lake was at 636 feet deep. That's a lot of lava. Scientists continue to monitor the eruption and the park in an area of the park that remains closed to the public for safety reasons. Dylan, do you want to give us any kind of a quick update? What you want to add to that on the volcano on the Big Island? What's going on with that?
I mean, that was a good summary, but I guess the update I would give is that everybody's over it. there was like a week of like excitement and people talking about it, and now it's just we're back to normal like it used to be for 30 years. So the VOG is definitely in the air. I know we did a whole show on this a couple of weeks ago, but that's the real only thing that kind of brings it top of mind and you notice it every day, is that there is that haze in the air again, and the sunsets, you can't really see the horizon when the sun sets on most days. There was a couple of clear days last weekend when the wind shifts, but for the most part, the VOG is back. And I guess the upside is you get these really beautiful red sunsets now. When the sun sets, it's a really different color because of that volcanic haze in the air.
So what I'm kind of hearing you say, Dylan, is that things are essentially back to, quote, normal the way they've been for the last 30 years. You guys, right?
It was in the paper, people talked about it, and then now it's like, everybody's over it. So
because there was like a little bit of a break. I don't know how long the break was for like a couple of years, I think, right?
It was like September of 2018 until November or December of 2020. So about a little over 2 years.
So you guys had a little bit of a break, but now it's kind of back to, quote, normal, which means that you have like a hazy, foggy conditions on the Kona side of the island. If the trade winds are kind of at their norm, you've got the volcano that's kind of going on, etc. That's great. Hey, everyone, just want to welcome you all again. And if you've got any questions or comments, love to hear about them. And hey, Josh, I see your message. Josh, Josh submitted a phenomenal question, which we're going to have in a few minutes after we talk about our market update. And we're going to go into that. So Josh, gotcha, buddy. Glad you're here. For all of you that are here, we take your questions first. Your questions are the priority because you're here with us now. You're here with us live. We have a whole bunch of questions queued up that people have submitted, and we're going to go through them one by one. But your questions and your comments come first. So next part of what we normally do in the show is we do a little bit of a quick market update. So let's do that. I just kind of want to hear from all of you across the state, Scott and Dylan and Heidi. Fill me in on kind of what's been happening. The last time we had a show was, I believe, the 14th, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. It was a while ago, maybe the 18th. Can't remember, but it was a while ago. It was a couple of weeks ago at least. And so want to get some update on what's new, what's going on in the market that is notable that we want to talk about. So Scott, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, there's actually quite a few things. I mean, obviously we ended the year, we got a new year coming now, but there's some really interesting things going on and some trends that I'm seeing. So closed sales for the year last year ended up, and sales price was up 5.2%. But I'd say that's for the year, but I'd say it's a little misleading because we're trending more on the upper side of that the last couple of months. The big thing to me is we're at 1.4 months of inventory remaining. So what does that mean? That's extremely restricted. We're actually back at the same inventory levels as we were in 2007, which was the height of the last market. At that time, we had 20% price appreciation. I don't see us having that this time because you're looking at very different economic conditions. But I do think this year, if that trend continues, which it should, we should be price-wise and appreciation, we probably should be closer to 10% by the end of this year. And the list to sales price ratio is 100% right now. So sellers are getting what they're asking. It's a very tight market. And I'll give you a good example. I put in an offer in a property in Kaneohe listed at $1,050,000. There were 19 offers. We were in the top two. However, we went $185,000 over asking, escalation clause and appraisal contingency removal, and we did not get it. So, that every single offer I've written, the last 10 that I've written, have been competing with multiple offers. And what the good news is the new listings that are coming on the market last month, they're 15% more new listings coming on the market than the same time last year. So there are more sellers coming on, but there's still way more buyers in the market than there are sellers. And the one trend that I'm seeing consistently is like my Kahala listing, for example. I've had 15 people looking from that San Francisco, Silicon Valley area. And normally those people are more going to the outer islands because they want the quiet resorts. They want to get out of, the hustle and bustle. But what they're looking at doing now is moving here to have the city life, work remotely, have the better schools for the children are here. And we're seeing a big migration from people from the mainland looking to move to Oahu where they can work remotely and live. That's probably pretty important to know. What I would tell people with this pricing, what's going on, I had somebody tell me, hey, I don't want to overpay for a property. Well, the reason there's so many people or so much bidding going on is because when those interest rates dropped, it created affordability in the housing. The only way you offset that is either interest rates go back up or prices have to go up. And that's what we're seeing. And the Fed's already said they're not looking at raising interest rates for 3 years. That's a vehicle that they use to stimulate the economy. They want people to borrow at cheaper rates to spend and get the economy going. So I don't see this trend. This trend is going to continue. And because the capital has gotten so affordable because rates are so low, I see us continuing this trend going forward. So I would question that person that says, I don't want to overpay, because if you're classifying as overpaying, you're overpaying in today's snapshot. Maybe you're paying a premium price, but what is that value going to be in 2 years? You actually are probably paying a discount now for what it's going to be in the future if this trend continues.
Oh, that's an amazing summary, Scott. If I had to, that's an amazing detail. If I had to summarize that, it means we think prices are going to go up significantly on Oahu in the short term, and it's really, really hard to buy a house right now. There's a lot of competition for those buys. So, Dylan, that's really remarkable. Again, Dylan, what's going on the Big Island? Unmute your microphone.
On the Big Island, the things are still bananas. We had a couple of slow months there. In the summertime, things slowed down, and then we saw it pick up in September, October, November. We were talking about off the chart 60% increases in the number of properties that were selling versus a year ago. And then in December, just in the Kona market, my primary market, but it's a really big indicator of where we're going, because this is where that second home market, right? And it doesn't make any sense that in December, we had a 100% increase. It was 97% in the number of homes that sold in December this year versus December a year ago. Some of that has to do with the Ironman, which is weird, right? So the Ironman comes every October, and people avoid Kona like the plague in October because there's thousands of people here in Speedos running around, clogging up the roads, and every single hotel room and Airbnb is booked. So normally December for closed sales is a slow month because not that many properties go under contract in October, right? So you have that 45, 60-day lag. But there was no Ironman this year, and people started coming back, and that buy-in frenzy has continued. So across the whole island, there was like 30% increases for land, condos, and homes. So across the board, huge increases towards the end of the year.
Excuse me, Dylan, when you say 30% increase, you mean 30% increase in
number of homes? No.
Of homes.
Price were up like 7%. So
7%.
Price, still pretty stronger than normal, but it's just the sheer volume of how many properties are selling, which is crazy, because it's not like a small increase. It's like literally, significant 30, 40, 50% increases in the different markets across the island. So things are back, things are humming right along. And like Scott said, I don't think there's going to be any slowdown anytime soon. We're definitely not feeling that. And just a little anecdote, right? People talking about, well, I don't want to overpay. I sold a classmate of mine a house about 2 years ago in a small new build neighborhood that seemed kind of like a stretch. It was kind of high. He paid like $560 for it. And, at the time, even in 2018, people were thinking the market was hot and they were overpaid. And he's thinking about selling. I just ran comps for him, and we could easily get $700 for that house today. So, he's going to make $140,000 in equity in 2 years. So, don't get left behind, because that could definitely be the case 2 years from now again.
I'm not a lawyer here, but I think we need to I feel the need to throw out a disclaimer. Your actual results will vary. This is not a promise, right? This is not a promise of any future value. Don't take our word for it. Do your own research. We're just kind of talking and sharing information based on what we think. Anyway, but Dylan, that's again. So I'm hearing there's bananas. You're up 97% over the previous year in December. What I heard you say, prices are coming up. The things are up like all over the place. It is a bananas market going on.
Our biggest problem, and we've talked about this before, and this is if you're in the market in general right now, is just be patient because of these huge increases. We don't have in the real estate industry. I don't know if I've told you guys this before, but there's only one surplus in bodies in the real estate industry. That's realtors. There's way too many realtors, right? But the market is right for escrow companies, lenders, termite companies, home inspectors. And when you have a humongous increase in the number of volume, all of those people are booked. I mean, they're just drowning right now. So I'm having like 0 deals close on time right now because somebody along the way is causing a delay. It's nobody's fault. No, it's not intentional. It's just everybody's overwhelmed. They don't have enough staff, and everybody's trying to do their best, working weekends late. I mean, I'm getting emails from escrow officers at 10 o'clock at night trying to get deals closed because they are just so overwhelmed with volume right now. So if you're looking to buy, be patient and don't make hard plans that you got to be here and on a certain date, because you got to expect a 1, 2, 3 week delay potentially.
Yeah, that's a great insight. Thank you, Dylan. It's kind of fun. We have a little bit of a side conversation going on the Facebook page over here. Daniel talked about what to be aware of when buying a leasehold apartment, and Edlin is like, don't do it, and never buy leasehold. Now, these are individual conversations between yourselves. Again, it's not our recommendation one way or another, but I just want to recognize there's some conversations going on about there. We might get to leasehold conversation if we get to the part of the show. We've had it before, but it comes up again and again. Heidi, give us the Maui update. What's been going on Maui the past 2 or 3 weeks?
It has been busy here on Maui. It's been a great start to 2021. Just judging by the number of calls I received on New Year's Day, January 1st, it seems like people have this renewed resolve to do something this year. It's a new year, 2021. Now, Maui is the only county that has not completed their December 2020 stats. So I think the entire state's waiting for Maui. But there is just a lot going under contract in our market, and especially the luxury high-end market is moving. Now, in looking what's happened in the recent past, I mean, our number of condo sales is still off compared to previous years. If you're getting beaten out because of multiple offers over on Oahu, come over to Maui. That situation is not quite as common here. While we do have a really strong market, I mean, we're definitely not seeing 14, 15 offers on a home at this point. It's just a little bit slower moving over here, but really strong market. It's going to be a great year.
Thank you, Heidi. I really appreciate that. So the moral of the story is plan ahead. You want to get a hold of Scott or Dylan or Heidi or myself. There's a link on the description. You can click yourself through, get to a form, and we'll get the process started for you right away. Hey, Janice, I hope I didn't pronounce that incorrectly. Janice Cooper says, aloha, I'd love to hear about where each of you lives, your specific town area, why you chose it, and why you dislike it. Janice, we're going to get to that question, but I'm going to get to a great question that we had from Josh, who submitted it earlier. And Josh, I told Josh that if he was going to show, Josh, he put in the form, he submitted this, gave incredible detail, and said, Josh, if you're going to be at the show, I'll have a slide ready for you. And I do. So we're gonna go into Josh's slide in a moment here. Nope, not exactly. Technical difficulties here. There we go. So here is Josh's question. And Josh says, I've tried to minimize it a little bit, but here we go. So Josh says, my wife and I are currently in the process of paying off our primary home. We will have it paid off in 4 years by the time we are both 40, but we're unsure of the best course of action to take afterwards. We have a late model, low mile vehicles that we are planning to hang on to. We have no debt of any kind besides the house. My job of 15 years may soon be converting to work from home permanently, and my wife should find work easily in her dental hygiene field. We have a rental property that's netting about $300 per month, and we're thinking about selling it to get part of our down payment. We could get about 70 or 80K on the sale. The main question is your opinion on what we should do with our current primary home. We could rent it out, which would take in about $1,500 to $1,800 per month of income, or we could sell it, which would net about $280,000 to $300,000. If we sold it, we would use the bulk of it to put forth a larger down payment, pay for our moving expenses, and add to our current savings. We got a credit score of about 835. We're looking for a home, not a condo. We don't blow money on nightlife, but we do enjoy eating out a couple of times a week. We enjoy traveling and understand that even if we have additional money to travel, naturally we're going to travel less because, well, we're living in Hawaii. Two curveballs, we'd likely will have another child, and we'd also consider Kailua Kona, especially if we found a property with the potential for additional rental income. Love your resources and appreciate your time. Josh, appreciate the incredible detail of the question. I had emailed this out to everyone ahead of time saying, hey, if Josh calls in or jumps in, we're going to kind of talk about his question. So what I'd like to do, let's start with Dylan first. Dylan, because he talked about Kailua Kona. What do you, Josh comes to you, send you all this information. What do you say to Josh?
So the first thing I would ask is, what is the overall goal? Like home-wise, property-wise, what are you looking for? So we can kind of figure out price range, what you need to be looking at. And then the next step would be, when it comes to your investment property and your current primary residence, your income situation now, I would definitely talk to a lender, because that is the best person that is going to be able to analyze that in detail and then present you with options in terms of financing that best fit what your goal for a property is. So it's kind of hard to say whether you should sell it or you shouldn't sell it. You really want to talk to a lender, lay out the whole entire scenario, the different options, and then they can tell you, look, your best option is you need to sell the property and use that money for a down payment. Or they may say, hey, you're good to go with the way the finances are, rent it out. You can use rental income, and which will offset your debt to income ratio and may get you qualified for what you want to buy. So really, those are the two big factors, is kind of figure out what your overall ideal property is, so we can narrow down what your price target is going to be, and then work your way back with the lender to figure out the best way to achieve that.
Thanks, Dylan. And hey, Josh, why don't you, while we go around the table over here, throw us see if you can answer Dylan's question now on the chat, and I'll pop it up. In other words, price range or the kind of home that you're looking for, right, Dylan? That's kind of what you asked him.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. If you want to do that, we'll try to handle that. We'll see how this goes, but give that a shot there. Heidi, what would you say? How would you respond to Josh's details and Josh's question?
Well, I think what Dylan said was great. I mean, I definitely start with talking to the mortgage broker. The next thing too is, if you're trying to determine whether or not you want to keep your primary home as a rental property, I mean, think about, do you want to be a landlord from afar? Is this something that you want to do? And is this home a long-term investment that you want to keep? When I personally relocated to Maui, I turned my primary residence into an investment property. And the first year, my tenants caused about 20 grand in damage. So that wasn't great. But after that, it's been a more positive experience. Also, I mean, in making that decision, I'd have some more questions for you, because I don't know the market in your area, when you bought that home, how much it's appreciated. And you also might want to discuss this decision with your CPA too, because if you've had a lot of appreciation on the home, and it's been your primary residence for the past 3 years, if you were to sell it in the next 2 years, there would be some tax exemption for you. So, I mean, question for your CPA and, your personal situation.
Thank you, Heidi. Josh has responded by saying $800K would be the price range he'd be looking for. So Dylan, kind of you could think about that one. Scott, what is your advice to Josh as far as his question goes?
Yeah, so this is exactly what we get into in some of our consultations. Normally, I do an upfront consultation and we kind of walk through these scenarios and what are the steps. And the first step would be talking with that mortgage broker, because we're having to kind of game plan some things. What is your qualification? And then when we look at that qualification, we got to run some kind of what if scenarios, which are, what's the rent going to be on that property that you're just in? What are your long-term goals? One of my beliefs is always that the more properties you can have, the better you're going to be wealth-wise down the road and things. But that's not necessarily the goal set in mind. may not align with the goals, or we can't, we do need to liquidate that to be able to buy here. So we run different scenarios with the lender, then come back to me and we look at those different scenarios, and then we look at the properties. Where do you want to be? What do you get for that price point in those areas? And then you can make the determination of, okay, we may need to sell that to free up more capital so that we can adjust our price point, or we're going to have to be in a different area, or we need to make sacrifices. So it comes with some significant game planning and some strategizing. And that's what I love. That's where I feel like we can move the needle for clients and making them money or saving them a mistake significantly moving forward into the future for them.
Excellent, Scott. Hey, Dylan, is there anything you want to follow up on? Josh, since he came back with a quick answer, how would this? Do you have any sense? I guess your advice would still be to go see a lender, but does 800K throw anything else in the picture for you?
Well, to kind of add on to what Scott was talking about, so totally awesome advice. And so what you want to look at right now is that we can ballpark numbers, right? For an $800,000 mortgage, if you borrow the whole entire thing at interest rates where they are now, you'd probably be looking at somewhere around a $4,000 a month payment, right? And that's including taxes and insurance. The interest rates are so low. And that's one thing to consider right now is you may be better off borrowing more money at these low interest rates as opposed to cashing out on another investment and lowering your overall amount that you borrow, right? So if you did cash out and maybe you put $200,000 down on an $800,000 house, now your mortgage is $600,000, you'd be looking at closer to a $3,000 a month mortgage. So it's all about kind of what your income looks like. Debt to income ratio is a very important factor in the lending process. And if you have no other debt, you should be well qualified. But still, a mortgage broker is going to look at what is that ratio, because you cannot exceed a certain amount of debt to your income. Your mortgage debt cannot exceed a certain amount of your income. And so those are all things you would look at and kind of figure out, what are you most comfortable with? Are you comfortable paying a higher mortgage, but getting that income producing property to send you a check every month? Or are you more comfortable putting, cashing out there and putting that money down and lowering your mortgage payment every month? So lots of different factors, but definitely with interest rates being low, a lot of people are choosing, even people who have cash are choosing to borrow because they can make, you can pay 3% or less on your mortgage and then invest that money and make 6, 7, 8% in another investment. And it makes more financial sense. So like Scott said, tons of factors here. You got to kind of run them all and see what works best.
Excellent. That's great advice. Really good and great. I'm so glad to have you guys as all of a part of this. And I appreciate that. As you all were talking, it's like, boy, this remote, we thought that this remote worker thing was going to have an impact. And clearly it seems that the remote work, because Josh is basically one of his things is he looks like he's going to be a remote worker, converting to work from home permanently. And this is kind of, Scott, you mentioned this as well, going on Oahu. So I'm sure this is like a big trend going on. Why don't we do this? How about if we kind of shift this one a little bit?
Can I say one thing?
Sure. Go ahead.
What this was, or what this is right here, is exactly what we do on a regular basis. I had 2 full hour-long consultations with people prior to even coming on the show this morning, going through these exact scenarios. This is where we help while you're already on the mainland to make that transition smoother over here. And there's not a lot. This is a fairly technical analysis here on this situation. And there's a lot of money involved. And I would say there's not many realtors that can properly guide people through those scenarios. There's a lot of new people and people that don't, fully grasp what to do. This is exactly what we do. Contact one of us if they want, and we're happy to help them out. We're happy to walk through this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody kind of sees that who's watching the show, especially those who have been with us week after week after week. It's really a great thing. There is a link on the description. Click on that and fill out the form, and it's going to get right to either Scott or Heidi or Dylan, depending on where you want to go. And a really quick. Jim Stevenson said, "Hey, are the delays Dylan spoke of statewide and especially Oahu?" Quick nod to that, Scott. The delays that Dylan talked about due to the scarcity of resources. Same thing on Oahu. Is there like delays in the closing process?
Yes and no. We have more resources here, being a full-blown city and over 1 million people. But the one where I'm having the issues is appraisers. And appraisers, when we put that request up to the third party, appraisers bid to get the appraisal, and whoever has the lowest bid gets the appraisal. They have a deadline that they're supposed to get that appraisal turned around in. It's 2-3 weeks, and we're seeing them just blow past that deadline, and there's no consequence. So I already know some of the issues, and I'm going to be running into it, is calling that third-party company and going, hey, we're not paying full pop for that thing. They're not delivering within the time frame that they're supposed to. So that's some of the challenges we're starting to run into. It's more on the appraisers and surveyors. Most of the lenders, and I would say escrow companies over here and termite people we've got enough. It's the appraisal side.
Heidi, how about Maui?
Well, I mean, one of the things I do with working with the buyer or a seller evaluating offers is I try to look at the details of the offer and set it up for success. And sometimes you receive an offer that's a 45-day close, and you just know, look, this is very unlikely it's going to close in 45 days. Let's just agree to 60 days or something. So anyway, for the most part, deals have been closing on time, but it just depends on the type of contingency and the deals. And, I think it's important to set yourself up for success and just understand when you are dealing with appraisers and a lot of different inspections. I mean, it can take some time. It's not unusual to have a 60-day closing here.
Yeah. Thanks, Heidi. And again, this goes back to speaking about experience, right? If you're an experienced realtor, you know what's going on with the market. You can kind of judge it correctly and say, hey, no way we're going to have a 45-day close. You better kind of expect on a 60-day close or longer. So yeah, a lot of things you take for granted, right? It's not until things go wrong that you realize how much you really rely on expertise and experience to get things done. Really quick question, Dylan, how's the VOG Ian says, how's the VOG on the Kona side? Hoping to visit from New York in a few weeks. My quick answer is it like it's always been for the past 30 years. Dylan, what can you add to that about the VOG on the Kona side?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it was pretty much for 30 years, and it got worse in 2018 when the lava flow happened. So if you were here in that 6-month period when the lava was raging, it was really bad, but that was kind of an outlier. It was pretty consistent for the previous 30 years, and it's just like it was back then.
Goes back to the way it always was. All right, great. So I want to, what I want to do now is I really want to recognize, I give a shout out to Janice, who gave us this question, because Janice, you submitted this question on the form. And like I have an auto response now that tells people, I'm going to have your slide ready. So if you do submit a question on the form, chances are, unless you do it like the day before the show, chances are I'm going to have your question will be on a slide. And if you're here, you want to bring that up, and I can't remember every single person of every single question, but I do remember this one. And so I am going to pop this one up and we're going to talk about it. So this is from Janice, and I think it's a great topic. It's actually going to be another fun topic in keeping with today's fun theme, which is, this is from Janice, and she's from Pennsylvania. And she says, which town did each of you choose to live on your island and why? So this is like a bragging rights. Yeah, you got it, Janice. We got you covered. We got you. Mahalo. Absolutely. We got you covered. So this is a fun one. So why don't let's do this. Let's kind of shake it up a little bit. Let's start in reverse order, starting from the bottom up. So Heidi, which town do you live in on your island, and why did you pick that town?
So I live in West Maui. The neighborhood I live in is Honokwai, which is just north of Kapolei. I love living here because of the incredible weather. Lots of sunny days, but just a little bit cooler, a little bit more breeze than being right downtown in Lahaina, which is about 5 minutes away. I also live right across the street from the beach. I can see the ocean, and just close to a lot of great beaches. So I love it here. Man,
that's a tough one to beat. Dylan, what's the town that you live in? Why did you pick it, and why?
So I currently live in Keali'i, and it's South Kona. There's a lot of little towns, little farming towns. There's Honalo and Kainaliu, and there's Keali'i, there's Captain Cook, and so it's kind of all of the same area. It's just a little ahupuas that break it all up. But I live up here. Basically, I was born and raised here, and after leaving, going to the mainland, being in the military, living on the east side of the island, lived in Oahu for a little while. There was nowhere else I would rather kind of set roots down in and raise my family in. So that's the cool thing about living here, is I'm very close to all of my family, my wife's family, and my kids are kind of growing up in the pretty much the same environment. Just they have the internet now and technology, but I mean, very close to the same environment I grew up in, and it's the perfect mix, I think, of having everything, all the amenities you need of modern life. You have Costco that's 30 minutes away, and Walmart and Target and all that stuff. But where I live in a little bit, it's about 10 miles, 12 miles south of that. It's still kind of that country feel where it's a lot of coffee farms, and there's not a whole lot of new stuff. I mean, the stuff that was here 30 years ago is the same stuff. We got a couple of more stoplights, but there wasn't a lot of changes to this kind of South Kona area. So it's the perfect elevation. It's like 1,000 feet to 1,500 feet, where you don't need any air conditioning. It's cool all the time, and just small community. Everybody knows everybody, and there's nowhere else I'd rather live. Definitely.
Awesome, man. Love it. Absolutely love it. Scott, you live on Oahu. What town and district do you live on Oahu? And well, I'm going to give a quick answer as to why, just looking behind you, but I want you to kind of flesh out the details here.
Yeah, I live at the base of iconic Diamond Head, which is right behind me right here. And actually, I think this week is my 20th anniversary for living in this spot, in this building. I've owned multiple units in this building, and I'm on the back side, but I absolutely love it. My personal life revolves completely around this spot. I walk out my door and I can do a run around Diamond Head, and it's 4 miles door to door. 300-acre Kapolei Park is right down here, the Waikiki Shell. I'm removed from the Waikiki, the hustle and bustle. So I'm in more of an established neighborhood, mature neighborhood with a lot of growth trees and 300-acre Kapolei Park. And I work out down there all the time. I swim down at Kaimana Beach, but yet I can either walk or 5-minute Uber ride or jump on a beaky bike and ride into Waikiki and get the best of both worlds. But I do like to be a little removed. I don't prefer to be in the hustle and bustle. And I like being on Oahu because I can work hard and play hard at the same time. My other favorite place, though, is where I lived before, which is Puako on the Big Island, which is the complete opposite of here. Very relaxed, quiet, not a whole lot going on. But I'm in the heart of everything, but removed enough so it's quiet and peaceful and has a nice feel. And I've got 13 restaurants right here on Montserrat Avenue that have become pretty iconic. It's a boutique little strip, and I can walk out my door. A lot of times I call the restaurants, they know me by name now, and hey, let me make my takeout order. I just walk across, pick it up, and it's super convenient and easy.
That's a great overview. I absolutely love it. So my turn. I live in East Honolulu, which is near the iconic Hanauma Bay. Hanauma Bay is one of the biggest tourist attractions on Oahu. We live in that district. I've been living here for over 20 years. Absolutely, it's the same theme that we all say is we absolutely love it, and I absolutely love living in this area. It's considered a suburb of Honolulu. I love it because we're really close to the beach. In fact, the latest thing I've gotten back into again, when my kids were little, we live a walking distance from the beach. When my kids were little, I used to take them to the beach. We used to kind of swim around. And I've kind of recently rediscovered this. It's become my workout swim. I swim out about a third of, it's a two-thirds of a mile swim, basically there and back. I swim out to not the outer reef, but I swim out to the reef and then I swim back. It's a great, phenomenal swim, and I could walk there back and forth from my house. I love that. My favorite place on the planet Earth is Makapu'u Beach, and I'm about a 10 to 15 minute drive from Makapu'u Beach is where I go body surfing on the weekends. A lot of the videos that you've seen on my channel are me driving back and forth from Makapu'u to go body surfing. So I absolutely love living in East Honolulu. You got access to shopping. It's quiet. It's suburban type of living. It's flat, so there's no mountains to go back and forth. We chose that specifically for our kids because I wanted the kids to go bike riding without having to worry about going up and down a mountain. Absolutely love it. So thanks everyone. This has been a great little tour around the state. You got it. What I love about this show that we do is, we've got this beautifully broad perspective. We got Scott on Oahu, and we got Dylan, born and raised in Hawaii, who went to the mainland, lived on Oahu, came back, and now is living on the Big Island. We have Heidi, who's been living in Maui, an expert realtor in Maui, who's got decades of Maui experience. It's absolutely fabulous, and I'm so pleased to be a part of this. And see, look, Julie, what did Judy just say? You all have a twinkle in your eye when you talk about where you live. Yes, Judy, exactly. That is exactly correct. There is the twinkle in the eye. And that's this attitude of gratitude that we have. Hawaii is the most incredible. For those of us that have moved to Hawaii and belong in Hawaii, and it's a long topic, so I'm not going to go into it. But for those of us that are in that sphere, those of us that have been here for a long time, this is the place for us, and there is no place else that can ever possibly substitute Hawaii, and it's just wonderful and amazing. I got a couple of comments that came in. A quick one from Paul. Aloha, guys. I'm interested in a property I saw in the Puna area with unpermitted cabin built to be permitted eventually. Is it ill-advised to bother with this? I'm a builder and would finish the cabin. Dylan, I hope Paul's talking to you. Is he talking to you?
Not yet, but we should talk, Paul. The major thing to avoid here is when there is an existing structure, it's not always simple to get it permitted because it depends on when it was built. It could have been built to the code at the time 10 years ago, and the code changes, as you know, as a builder pretty frequently. And so a lot of times people buy unpermitted stuff with the assumption that they can get it permitted, and it becomes a much bigger or impossible project based on how the structure was constructed, or it becomes cost prohibitive to do it. So definitely be cautious of that, and do some extreme amount of due diligence and work with somebody who knows what they're doing, because just because the seller's realtor says you can doesn't mean you can.
Yeah, the moral of the story here is work with somebody who knows what they're doing. And Paul, if you need to be talking to Dylan, as Raul, you need to be talking with. I don't know where we're going to be buying, Raul, but if you're buying in this state, you better be talking with Scott or Dylan or Heidi. Make sure you click on that link in the description to contact your lender based on this great discussion that we just had about the lending issue. And this was Joshua's question. Let's see if we kind of catch up over here at a couple of comments. Let's see here. We got, Raul we have Stargazer who's back. Stargazer, welcome back. Good to see you here. Great to have you a part of it. And we have, Ian uplifting Shaka. Absolutely, buddy. That is what I wanted to do today. I just wanted to give everybody something to, not to say an escape, but just something nice to kind of settle in on and enjoy, and have a kind of a little uplifting break to be a part of the Hawaii thing here, just for a little while longer. All right, let's move into. Let me get to our little diamonds and deals moment. I think that's kind of where we need to be right now. Give me a quick sec. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it's about that time. So we are on the diamonds and deals part of our show, and I always ask Scott and Dylan and Heidi to pull out a property that they feel is aspirational, inspirational, a great deal as well. So we got diamonds and deals. So we're gonna get started with those diamonds and deals. Let's see which one is first. Oh, yeah, I love this one. Heidi, what is this? This is 3660 Lower Honua Pi'ilani Road. What's with this property, Heidi?
So this property, I chose this because a lot of people wonder, well, what's available on Maui for under 200,000? This property is listed at 188,000. It's a leasehold condo, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, newly remodeled, really cute unit. There's a pool. You're pretty much right across the street from the beach. Definitely one to check out. And, happy to talk to anybody about leasehold. Leasehold isn't for everybody, but it does work for certain people in certain situations. So happy to have that discussion if anybody has questions about it.
Yeah, I'm really glad this came up, because I did not plan this out. This is God's way of making the show fun and interesting. We had a couple of comments earlier that I flipped on the screen about the leasehold. So we don't want to get into a leasehold discussion because it's long and somewhat complicated. But very quickly on this one, Heidi, when does this lease sort of either get renegotiated, or when did this lease expire on this property? Because leasehold is like leasing a car. You don't own the property legally, you lease it. But when does this lease expire or get renegotiated, Heidi?
So I believe there's another 27 years on this lease. So, there's lots to look at in leasehold. You want to look at the length of the term on the lease, what the lease rent is, and generally every 10 years they'll have what's known as a renegotiation date where that lease rent could be adjusted. So those are all things to look through and get all the information. I mean, the reason I find people buy leasehold is because it's just the cost to purchase it is so much less than a comparable fee simple condominium. I mean, for something like this fee simple in this neighborhood, you might be looking at $350 to $400, just to give you an idea.
Yeah, that is a huge benefit of leasehold, and it is a great way. If the factors all work for you, it is definitely something that people are buying and selling leasehold properties all the time. My first property that I bought in Hawaii when I was in my early 20s was a leasehold property, and it worked out very, very well for me. And I was really happy I bought it. I would no way would I be able to afford that if it was a fee simple, and so that was great. All right, let's go on to the next one. And the next one is the Kaka'ako condo. That's on Oahu. Scott, tell us about this place.
So this is one of my more enjoyable buildings. I love the amenities in this building. And you're in Kaka'ako, which is our up and coming community. They're planning 30 plus towers over the next roughly 10, 15 years or so. So it is going to fill out. It's our hip urban core area where a lot of the hip restaurants are coming up. But Pacifica Honolulu was originally supposed to be Moana Vista. And one of my best friends was actually the project manager for that. And that developer went under. Oliver McMillan, the San Diego developer, built this and then changed it, modified it to go more luxury right towards the end. And you can see in the lower right corner, you have a movie theater room. You have these cabanas all with fire pits. You've got a beautiful workout room, sauna, all the amenities you could think you could want. In fact, even a chef's kitchen area where you can rent it out, so to speak, or put a deposit down, have friends over, have a private chef come over and cook meals for you and your friends. So if you like amenities, this is a good one. And it's a 1-bedroom in that area for $655,000 fee simple. And the maintenance fee is almost $800 a month, which is actually right in line. Some people may think that's a lot. It's about $120 $1.20 a square foot, which is right in line with the newer buildings are. But great views, high floor, 1-bedroom, looking out towards the ocean side, sunset side, and then you have just a ton of amenities, and you could walk right out the door, right into the heart of the urban core.
Yeah, that Kaka'ako region is really a big time up and coming kind of hipster. Lots of new condos popping up all over the place in Kaka'ako. Those of us that have been on Oahu for a long time, every time we drive through Kaka'ako, we don't recognize it. Just only a few months later, it's pretty amazing. Let's a couple of quick comments over here before we move on to Dylan. First of all, Josh really appreciates all the time that we've taken to run the show for us so often. Yeah, Josh, look, it's really our pleasure. It really is a lot of fun. We have a good time doing it too, and so it's really great. So make sure you connect with Dylan if you're going to be on the Big Island, but connect with us when you're ready to get what you want. Julie has got a quick question. Hello, I'm coming to Hawaii, considering coming to Hawaii in the next few weeks, possibly Kauai. What's it like now? Any place to look for trade opportunities or house sit or boat sit job opportunities? A lot of questions over there, Heidi. That's beyond the scope of this show that we can handle right now. All I can tell you is make sure you plan. All I can talk about is the travel side. You really, really want to plan that. That's the best thing I can say. I don't know if anybody wants to jump in. You could jump in on what Julie asked about. Let's see. Alex Martin says, Scott and Dylan, I'm going to Oahu March 20th through April 4th. I'll be on each island for 1 week. We'll be looking on both islands for a house. Just one house, FYI. Alex, I need you to click on the description right now. Are any of you guys working with Alex now? Anyone? Scott? Tell anybody? Alex, you need to click on that link in the description. Help you find a house so that you can get in contact with these folks. That when you'll be on those islands, you definitely do not want to be missing that. You've got experts that are waiting to help. I think. Oh yeah, and Raul mentioned the last show. Work transfer got me to Oahu. Taking your advice on renting in different areas. We'll be getting in contact with Scott. All right. That's great to hear, Raul. You definitely want to get a hold of Scott. All right. Let's see. Let's move on to our last diamond in deal over here. And that is Dylan blowing it out. What is this, Dylan?
So this is a very interesting opportunity. So this is a diamond and potentially a deal. So this is an auction property. It's actually been on the market for a very long time. It's in a very special place, Keali'i Bay. If you're familiar with it, it's near where the old Kona surf is. It's now a Sheraton resort, but there's really only like 5 or 6 residential properties along this bay. And so very unique. Beautiful boat harbor on the inside of this bay, but you can see where the property is located right there. Super luxury, 7-bedroom, 7-bath, huge home, and it's going to be on auction. So it was previously listed at 7.4 million. They're starting the auction at 150,000 with no reserve. So, and I just saw this same company do an auction for a property that one of my team members had listed, and it was listed for I think 3.2 million, and it ended up selling for 1.6. So once you commit to this, whatever the highest bid is what you sell your property for. So this potentially could be something that you could get for significantly less than 7.4 million, and it is just a stunner of a property, amazing location, very, very unique. So if you got a couple million to spend, this is something definitely to look at.
I am speechless looking at that property. That is, I mean, the photos, of course, don't do it justice, and we can't blow them up big enough to look at the resolution here. But I'm looking at that one part on the upper left-hand corner over here, Dylan. It looks like a view out of the living room, and then just a stunning view across the bay. Right, that looks like a view off the living room across the bay, which is nice. Looks like a resort. And of course, that big great room in the lower right-hand side with all that looks like koa wood paneling on the koa wood on the floor, or certainly some kind of native wood on the floor. Like that is absolutely stunning. Excellent work. Very, very cool. Diamonds and deals. So it could be yours for way less than 7.4 million. You know, when you said the starting bid's 150,000, I kind of feel like bidding like 200,000 just to say I put a bid on it.
Maybe we should all put a bid in, right?
We should all put a bid just for the heck of it. Get the property goes for 250,000. So that's a great one. So okay, let me see here. Let me go back a couple of slides and continue where we left off. Oh, we have a couple of, all right, so there's a couple of interesting questions over here. So the, let's see here. Let's take, I did want to hit one since we're talking, wait, hold on a second. Let's do this. Let's go. Okay, we talked about, got 52 minutes. Okay, let's do this. We have a big topic. I'm going to save it for next week. Since this is somewhat of a dreamy show, an aspirational show for the first year. Let's talk about this one. So we have a question from Scott from Dallas, Texas. And Scott says, first, we really enjoy the Aloha Friday show. Thanks, Scott. I really enjoy it too. We learn something new each week from Peter and the real estate experts. Yes, so do I. Actually, Scott, I learn something new every week as well. Scott says, my wife and I are retiring in mid-2022, and we're in our early 60s and dream of moving to Maui, where we have enjoyed visiting the past 35 years. We prefer a single-family home, low to no maintenance, and newer if possible. This will be our primary residence, but we anticipate traveling for approximately 5 months per year. We prefer not to exceed $1.5 million, and the purchase will be a cash transaction. So Heidi, what are your thoughts on Hokulani Golf Villas? The floor plans, the square footage, the pricing, and golf course seem to fit our wish list. Do you know of any new construction projects coming up within the next 1 to 3 years that we should put on our radar? And to everyone, we love the Hawaiian culture, people, and history. What kind of advice can you give that would allow us to be accepted into the Hawaiian community as seamlessly as possible? Various volunteering opportunities in the community and the thought church and through church come to mind. Are we on the right track? Great question, Scott. Heidi, how do you respond to Scott?
Well, Scott, thanks so much for reaching out and for your question. Hokulani Golf Villas it's a very popular community and newer construction in Kihei. There's not a lot of new construction on Maui, but another new project that you might keep on your radar is Wailea Hills. Anticipated delivery, though, on that one is, I believe, 2023. So it might be just a little bit out. But the La'iloa is the first phase of Wailea Hills, and it's going to be oriented on the 7th hole of the Wailea Blue Golf Course. There's 15 buildings, modern architecture. It's terraced to really take advantage of the views of the outer islands and the West Maui Mountains. And happy to send you some more information on that, as they release it and it gets developed. One of the reasons Hokulani Golf Villas, I think, was really popular is because it's a condominium community where a lot of things are taken care of for you, but they are freestanding homes, and you do have garages as well. Another community like that that comes to mind, it's about 20 years old. It was built about 20 years ago, is the Vintage. Again, freestanding homes, you have a garage, but it is a condominium community where they take care of all the landscaping, take care of the pool, take care of everything for you. So those would be a couple things to think about, and yeah, happy to help.
Thank you, Heidi. Just to kind of quick, just to keep on this theme of the dream, let's just kind of replace the title there with dream of moving to Maui and say dream to moving to, let's say, Big Island. Dylan, what would you do if, what would you recommend to Scott? He's looking at a price range of 1.5. Where would you tell Scott to look at? Relatively newer construction he's looking for, apparently, wants to be near, likes the golf course. Where would you tell Scott to look at on the Big Island?
We have a ton of options in that price range. So that's definitely something, if you don't settle on Maui, you definitely want to look on the Big Island. There's many communities, and one of the advantages to the Big Island is we're big. So a lot of these newer developments with nice new construction, they do them on 1 acre pieces of land. So you're not crammed into small lots. And so there's Makalea Estates, there's Kona Hills, there's all of these different subdivisions on the upper highway, so you had a nice elevation, stunning views, and of course there's tons of golf courses in Kona, so you may not be right on one, but you're 15-20 minutes away from several that you can choose from. So that's if you're in Kona. If you want to be out in the Waikoloa area, you're more looking, there's a couple of areas where you can get a single family home, but a lot of them are more condo type properties, but you'll have plenty of options in that 1.5 price range. Great views, pool, everything you could want.
Thanks, Dylan. Scott, let's just kind of open up a little bit over here, because Oahu is kind of different. If you had, let's take away the requirement of a house versus condo. So house or condo. If you had right, because we have to open up here. We're just dreaming, right? We're just dreaming because we know Scott wants to go to Maui, but let's just take the overall idea of someone like Scott, 1.5 on Oahu, wants something new, wants a house, would prefer a house, but condos open too. What would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of different development projects that are going on. And actually, I happened to take a look at my phone, and Koa Ridge Nanea just announced while we were on the show that they're going to be releasing a new phase. So if anybody's interested, get in touch with me, because they're going to start doing the lottery portion on that. But yeah, there's a great new construction one out in Kapolei that's on the Kapolei Golf Course. You can also get Hoakalei. Actually, I got into a backup offer earlier this week on a golf course frontage in Hoakalei down in Ewa, which is like the Ocean Point area, 3,700 square feet, great, and we're right around the 1.5 range. You can go Coco Villas, which is newer, down in Hawaii Kai on the Hawaii Kai Golf Course. I had a client that had the premier home there right on the golf course, elevated up. You had ocean and Molokai views in the distance, which is really neat. Or you can go Kaka'ako Condo. That's where most of our condo towers are going, the vertical kind of towers are going, and that gives you just a different urban core lifestyle. You can also be in Hawaii Kai right next to the Mid-Pac Golf Course in a single family home in that price point. So you got a ton of options in different areas.
This is what I love about this team. I keep saying again, and forgive me, everyone, for repeating myself, but it is so great to be with people who know what they're doing. It's just so awesome. All right, we're gonna wrap this up over here and end it with what Dylan started a tradition many shows ago, and that is going to be our closing thoughts. So why don't we kind of let's do this. Let's take it. Let's go Dylan, and then Heidi, and then Scott for our closing thought. We're about to wrap up our first show of the new year. Heidi, what's your closing thought for everybody?
Well, my closing thought is, if you're waiting for the world to be perfect, you're probably never going to want to make a move. So I just wanted to share a quote. This is usually accredited to Mark Twain. And 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than the ones that you did. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, and explore, dream, and discover.
Beautiful. Thank you, Heidi. That is absolutely fabulous. Dylan, what's your closing thought for today?
So because it's New Year's and people make resolutions, and this is quote that former Navy SEAL Jocko Willink uses a lot, and I really like it, and I use it on my kids all the time, is that discipline equals freedom. And a lot of people think that that doesn't make sense because discipline means you have less freedom. But in his context, this definitely applies to any type of New Year's resolutions or other goals that you have, is the more discipline you have, the more freedom you get, because you can use it in examples like exercise. I personally apply it to exercise. I like to exercise every day because I like to eat. So exercising allows me to have the freedom to not have a strict diet and still be relatively healthy, or the discipline to work hard and get up every day and make money will give you financial freedom in the future. And so if you have discipline, you definitely have more freedom, and it's something to kind of think about when you look at life and approach what you're doing.
Thanks, Dylan. Love it. Absolutely excellent. Scott, what's your closing thought?
I'm actually going to wing it on this one. I'm going to piggyback off of what Dylan just said. He was talking about exercise or health, and most people don't know this, but one of my biggest things that's most important to me is, without health, nothing else matters. If you don't have good health, the job isn't going to matter, nothing else. And I've had quite a few surgeries. I played soccer in college and things, and most people don't know I've had hip surgery, shoulder surgery, a couple other things. So for me, I focus on health significantly. I also go back to a different side of health and gratitude, which you were speaking earlier. And I went down to Kapolei Park to watch the sunset 2 nights ago to close out last year, to rid the mind, just kind of relax for a little bit. And I stayed down there till probably 8:30, 9 at night. And that's a part of the reason why I like living in this area, is because it feels completely safe, even in the park in the evening time. But I was able to just kind of decompress, get rid of last year, refocus on this year, and move forward with new, being invigorated and having new goals and new focus.
Love it, man. Love it. Absolutely love it. And folks, if you get some closing thoughts, throw them over here. I'll do my best to kind of pop them on the screen real quick. From Kinaya, and then from Jeremy, thanks for making a trip in April to talk to some appraisers. Definitely Jeremy, and Aloha Friday, Melinda. Absolutely. All right, gang, my closing thought. I kind of had my opening thought was my closing thought, so I'm going to make mine really brief. I think what comes down to me is live in the moment, savor the moment. Whatever the moment is, savor the moment. If it's a wonderful, great moment, savor it. It's a great moment without any expectations about whether it's going to continue, whether it's going to go away, or whether you're jinxing it or not. Savor the moment. And if the moment is awful, if it's terrible, savor that too. It ain't going to be around forever. It'll be gone shortly. It won't be here forever. Savor that moment. Live for the now. Can't do this all the time. We do have to plan ahead, to discipline, that thing that Dylan mentioned, in planning ahead for our finances. There's always times for that, but sometimes savor the moment. Savor the moment. And if you're living in Hawaii, it's kind of easy, but no matter where you live, it doesn't matter. Savor the moment. All right, folks, I think with that, I'm going to give you all a big thanks, Mark, for the great show. We're looking, Mark is part of our cohort, which is starting. We got the great, Hawaii Islander Ohana cohort, which is starting next week. I'm so excited about this. Our first cohort is going to be meeting on the next week, Saturday. We're going to be opening. The cohort's closed right now, but we're going to be opening up again later on. I'm so stoked. All right, folks, I think this is it for me. I'm going to go around quick. Let's go clockwise. Some from Scott and Dylan and Heidi. Aloha Friday, everybody. Have a great Aloha Friday.
Aloha.
Have a good weekend.
Aloha.
See you all later. Aloha.